Donald Trump's Liberation Day tariffs. Trump's $1.4 trillion trade war is set to reshape global economy and some would say the rules of global trade. 1 lakh Awami League members have fled to India is the latest allegation by Bangladesh. His advisor accuses Sheikh Hasina of hatching conspiracies in India. Latest allegations comes ahead of BIMSTEC. Will this be another roadblock to a possible meeting between Modi and Yunus? Liberal judge Susan Crawford beats Musk-backed candidate. Musk's money muscle fails Republicans in the key swing state of Wisconsin. Israel set to expand its military operations in Gaza. Reports suggest may even seize areas. Defense minister says that the aim is to crush terrorists after all ceasefire talks have broken. Democrat senator makes historic protest against Donald Trump. Senator Booker gives a 25-hour speech slamming Donald Trump, breaks record for the longest floor speech in history. The question is, will it revive Democrats' chances in the House? Our top story on the show, US President Donald Trump is all set to announce his latest slew of tariffs at the White House tonight. And India Global is keeping a very close watch on what could be the measures that will threaten to unleash a global trade war on what he has said all along is Liberation Day. Why? Because it's going to liberate the American economy, which is stuck in the clutches of heavy tariffs that countries around the world have been imposing on American manufacturers for decades. No details are out as yet, but it is likely to rattle and has already rattled global stock markets and really alarmed companies and economists around the world. President's proposed a 25% tariffs. They are likely to hammer the world economy. Some back-of-the-envelope calculations suggest it could be $1.4 trillion. Again, no one really knows whether it's going to be layered, whether it's going to be millions of tariff slabs that will be put, or one single. The important part is that India will also not be left unscathed. We will feel the pain. No one knows how much, because no one really knows what is the extent of this tariff mechanism that he's going to come out with. But of course, it's going to be less affected given the fact that there have been some trade talks between India and the US, and that could really break the ice. How much remains to be seen, and which is why I'm going to now put forth those big questions that we always do on India Global to really decode the story in greater detail. Let's put that out. Question number one, which is that will Trump tariff bomb actually hit and impact global markets? It has already rattled, but how much more? Second, will the tariffs bring a complete turnaround of American trade policy? Will this really be that watershed moment as to from here on how American trade policy will behave? The next key question, how much will it hurt the American economy? Because at the end of the day, American consumers will have to pay more, which is why American stock markets have also been very nervous about it. And lastly, will these tariffs actually start major trade wars with leading economies, whether it's China, whether it's Mexico, whether it's European Union? Where will the American trade policy be? And also in the midst of this, what will be the US-India trade relationship? We'll try and decode all of that with my guests joining me this evening, Mithali Nikore, who's an economist, and Professor Irfan Nuruddin, who's joining me from the Georgetown University in DC. Thank you so much, both of you, for taking out the time. And in fact, let me start with the voice coming in from America, which is that there is nervousness around global markets. And what's it looking like, Professor Irfan? Because no one really knows what these reciprocal tariffs would be and how they would actually go about liberating everyone, including American companies.
Yeah, I think the only one liberated Mr. Trump and his friends. Look, I mean, we've got just tremendous uncertainty, and markets don't like uncertainty, right? Once we know what he's actually got in store for the global economy, businesses will have to factor that into their bottom lines, and then the stock markets will process that information. We'll get a repricing of some stocks, and we'll be okay on a lot of other things. At the end of the day, the biggest loser from this, I think any serious economist will tell you, is going to be the US consumer, right? The long run bet for Mr. Trump and company is that some of these tariffs induce American companies that have outsourced manufacturing and other business operations globally in an effort to save costs, and makes it actually financially attractive for them to relocate their manufacturing back to the United States, and in that sense, creating jobs. Now, in that regard, I mean, he's doing what we have seen in India, right? I mean, this was the whole point of Make in India. This was the notion of Prime Minister Modi's Atmanirbhar Bharat kind of ideas. This is, in fact, what lots of countries have done. And that fuels the Trumpian rhetoric that other countries have been taking advantage of the United States. Again, what I think serious economists will tell you is that for all of that protectionism that has occurred around the world, the American economy has still benefited from having a very low barrier to entry into the US market. It's been great for American consumers, and American companies have been the biggest beneficiary
Yes,
of this because they're the most powerful companies in the world. So,
indeed.
again, the big challenge over here is that Trump deals in uncertainty and markets don't like uncertainty. But later today,
Absolutely.
hopefully, we'll have more clarity.
Indeed, the world is watching, and so are we. Mitali, now, if one were to talk about the India aspect, the India impact, some of those graphics that we played out do indicate specific sectors where the impact could be more, whether it's alcohol, agri, pharma, footwear, MSME, spaces where probably the cushioning would be far less. But explain to us, where do you think that India could be able to extract the best possible concessions, for want of a better word, or agreement in these trade talks that have been going on for some time?
Thanks a lot, Gaurie, for bringing me onto the show. I think, I completely agree with Irfan that as a serious economist, I can tell you that the biggest loser out of this entire situation will be, at least in the short run, the US consumer, because there is a high amount of import dependency. And it's very difficult to re-engineer supply chains overnight. I mean, you can, of course, impose a tariff overnight, but you can't change your suppliers overnight. Now, in terms of the India-US relationship, what I would commend, Prime Minister Modi is that despite so many challenges, he went ahead to Washington and brokered a deal on behalf of our economy and on behalf of our country, and really set out a North Star for all of us to say the India-US trade relationship should lead to an amount of $500 billion of trade by 2030.
No, that's
That
the aspiration,
automatically,
Mitali. That's the aspiration, and that's the stated common goal. But the fact
absolutely.
is, these reciprocal tariffs are coming. The White House confirmed that today as well. So they are coming. We don't know the form and shape they will take, but they are coming, and they are going to impact the Indian economy as well. The question is, where do you think the impact could probably be the most, and what could policymakers in India do about it?
Absolutely. And in fact, this is exactly what is being discussed. I mean, when we look at the pharma sector, when we look at auto components, when we look at light manufacturing, when we look at electronics and semiconductor industries, I mean, these are the industries which are likely to be most impacted with the first set of tariffs that are going to come in, especially the reciprocal tariffs. The other sector which we are all worried about is the agriculture sector, because the agriculture sector is where, India imposes nearly a 38% tariff on US imports. And therefore, the rice and wheat which India is exporting currently to the US will also face a high
Okay.
reciprocal tariff.
All right. So I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that if this is going to come for everybody, not just for India, Irfan, let me ask you this, that if it's going to come for everybody, do you expect that trade negotiations going forward are essentially going to be about bilateral talks, that, whoever has managed to get those give and take going with DC probably extracts the best possible deal rather than having multilateral frameworks, big ticket trade pacts with multiple partners? Is that really how trade policy is going to be going forward?
I'm afraid so. I mean, so Mithali and I agree that obviously the US consumer is the biggest victim. The other big victim is the World Trade Organization and the entire rule of global trade governance that has been established over the last 60 years. Multilateral trade negotiations are effectively dead. They've been dying for a while, so this isn't particularly new, but this is the final death knell, if you will. So lots of bilateral. I suspect that once the full impact on inflation and the U.S. economy becomes clearer over the coming months, there'll be a lot of pressure on Mr. Trump to announce deals, right? Allow him to save some space, some symbolic efforts, and that will be done at the bilateral level as countries are pressured to offer concessions. The problem for India is that the two sectors that really matter, manufacturing and agriculture, are very politically sensitive for the Indian government, and it's just unclear that they can offer the kind of concessions that US trade negotiators are going to really, really want. But I do think we're just going to see a slew of announcements that certain countries, certain businesses have said they're coming back to America, that allows Trump and his supporters to claim victory, and then hopefully some rationality returns to US trade policy.
And Irfan, do you think this uncertainty, you mentioned that earlier as well, there are these reciprocal tariffs, there are these Russian oil tariffs, the Venezuelan oil tariffs, a bunch of other things that may also be on the anvil. Do you think this uncertainty will also come in the way of maybe America first supply chains, defeating some of the purpose and the objectives that these tariffs are supposed to have?
Very much so, right? Businesses, especially global businesses of the scale of these big multinationals that have global value chains, are making decisions that are years in the future, right? I mean, they've got to, so the rejiggering of a supply chain overnight, as Mitalia correctly said, is simply impossible. So how do you deal with that uncertainty? You basically hedge on future investments. You don't get as competitive as you could be. And remember that the rest of the world isn't standing put. So we already have seen announcements that two of America's closest allies, Japan and South Korea, are going to be collaborating with China to provide a joint front to fight the US trade tariffs. I mean, Europe is going to be rethinking its relationship with the United States. We're not talking about the end of America's too big an economic actor for the world to cut it out.
And it's not in anybody's interest that the American economy should falter. It should continue to do well because it's the primary economic engine of the world to that extent.
And that uncertainty therefore means that American consumers are going to be hedging their bets. So what we're going to see is a slowdown in 2025 in the US economy that'll have a ripple effect. Again, the world economy is pretty robust right now. We can handle that from the short run. The question is that if Trump and company really think that tariffs are the way in which you're going to rebuild American manufacturing and are willing to stick to that, then we've got a very long run problem ahead. If this is a big negotiating ploy, that they're trying to use this as a major stick to exact.
I think Mitali is nodding her head in disagreement. I'm running out of time. I'm going to give you 20 seconds in the spirit of fairness.
Thanks, Gaurie. So I think, what I would like to see the American economy do is leverage their technological strength to move the whole world economy forward. I mean, they're already the leaders in AI, and I'm actually agreeing with Irfan here that it shouldn't be about artificial tariffs, but really about innovation that should be driving us forward as a global economy. Yes. And this is not the way in which we should be competing economically, especially with emerging economies
like India. I'm out of time, but all I can say is that there are a bunch of people around the world who agree with what you are saying. I'm going to really watch out for what the White House statement is coming out at about 1:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, and we're going to give you all those details. On that note, I'm going to slip into a very quick break. More on the other side.
I'll fix him, love. Poor pet. Just shows you never know what's going to happen. Which reminds me, I need to protect the life we've built. That's why I'm looking into Smart Family Life Insurance. Hi, I'd like a quick quote, please.
OK, you can choose a benefit amount up to £750,000, depending on your age. If you're a UK resident aged 18 to 64, you can apply with just a few health and lifestyle questions. For £250,000 of cover, the price starts at just £14.77 a month.
That's less than I thought. And it could help my husband with the mortgage.
Just like families, not all life insurance is the same. That's why we offer the Smart Family Guarantee.
That's good to know.
You'll also receive a 100% advance in the event of terminal illness and 10% cash back on your first year's premiums. That's the Smart Cashback. Plus, you'll also get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Protect the life you've built the smart way. To get a free quote today, call our specialist UK team on 0800 977 5753 or visit smartinsurance.co.uk.
For Monu, every step is agony. But he's forced to carry heavy loads and bricks up narrow, steep flights of stairs, hour after hour, day after day. Life can be cruel and short for hard-working donkeys like Monu. With little food, water, or rest, they must keep going no matter what. Crude harnesses cut into their flesh. Horrific wounds and injuries go untreated. And when they've given all they can, many will simply be abandoned. You could help us treat more sick and injured donkeys. We won't stop until each one has a good life. But we can't do it without you. So please call 0800 035 9305 or text STEP 6 to 78866 and give £2 a month. Your help will be the first step towards a better life for brave donkeys like Monu.
With retirement round the corner, I want to spend more time with my family and less time worrying about the numbers. Which reminds me,
Welcome to British Seniors, the UK's #1 rated provider of over 50s life insurance.
hi, I'd like a quick quote.
No problem. We're proud to offer our seniors lifetime guarantee. With 100% of claims having been paid, we guarantee your premiums will never go up and that you'll speak to one of our specialists in the UK. UK residents aged 50 to 80 are guaranteed to be accepted. Depending on your age, your loved ones can get a cash payout up to £10,000.
And that money could help with funeral costs or even as a gift for the grandkids. I'll do it.
Plus, when you sign up, you'll receive a £135 gift card and free 24/7 GP advice and health services.
You got them all right. That's amazing.
Be proud to protect your loved ones with British Seniors. To get a free quote today, call our UK team on 0800 977 5808 or visit britishseniors.co.uk.
Seems that from Bangladesh, there is always news that comes out that is disturbing or at least not benefiting the India-Bangladesh relationship. Its interim government's information advisor has now claimed that 1 lakh members of the ousted Prime Minister, the Sheikh Hasina's Awami League party, fled to India. Wild allegation that has been made by Mohammad Yunus's advisor. Criticizing Hasina, Mahfouz in fact said that Hasina used enforced disappearances and killings as a means of avenging her parents' assassination. No way of proving any of these. In fact, he also went on to accuse the Awami League of operating as a mafia group, vowed that the party would never be allowed to regain political footing in Bangladesh, claimed that Sheikh Hasina is still hatching conspiracies against the country in India. All of this muddying the waters when it comes to India-Bangladesh relationship at a time when it is going through a sensitive period. Let's get in Faisal Mahmood, who's Minister of Press at Bangladesh High Commission to New Delhi, to really talk to us about these comments that are coming in. Faisal, do you think, first of all, that these are responsible statements that are being made by the administration in Bangladesh?
The statement is made by the information advisor, and I think he made the statement basing on some credible information. I'm not sure about the numbers that he mentioned, but I can guarantee you that a large number of Awami League leaders are in hiding in India, especially in the West Bengal. And we have credible information even in the High Commission in New Delhi that what numbers of Awami League leaders are in hiding, even in New Delhi.
Faisal, what's the proof?
Again, there is no proof because these people, the Awami League people, didn't go to India through a credible route. We don't have any information in our immigration, and neither does India, I guess, because I can give an example.
Which brings me to ask you this, that when relationships, diplomatic and bilateral relationships are at stake, do you think statements should be made without proof?
That's up to the individual who made that statement. But if you ask me, I think there should be a coordinated effort from the Bangladeshi side to make any statement and make that statement with consultation with others. That's my point of view.
Indeed. And it's refreshing to hear that, which also brings me to ask you, Faisal, that the country right now is going through a bit of a turmoil, and statements suggesting that Awami League will not be allowed to get a political footing in Bangladesh at a time when everybody wants elections. What is the political atmosphere that the government is really setting itself up?
I mean, you have to really follow what the interim government and its chief advisor has been saying.
We've been following it. Trust me, we've been following it. But yeah, go ahead.
I know that the political parties can make any sort of statement, but the government, I think, has made it clear that they haven't decided anything concrete on Awami League's fate. But you have to understand that Awami League didn't have a normal ousting from power. They were ousted from the power through a very popular uprising, which was participated from people from all across the board. I mean, all sorts of political parties and common people. So, and Awami League leaders are not in Bangladesh right now. They are not appearing in any places. I mean, not even if you ask them to appear in any places, they don't do that.
That's because of
So
a
they are
witch
making
hunt that's taking place against them, because of the fact that the turmoil, the law and order situation has prevented them from really coming out, and that
The witch
security
hunt hasn't-
situation has been alarming, hasn't it, Faisal?
I mean, the witch hunt hasn't been going on without any reason. The witch hunt is going on against those persons who are accused of like heinous crimes, and the law and order, I mean, the law enforcement officials are only trying to find out the peoples who were involved in, this genocide. They had killed a lot of people during this July and August uprising. It is not going on indiscriminately.
Faisal, I have to leave it there, but all I can say is that what has been happening since 5th of August isn't any better than what your claims have been about Awami League's tenure in the 15 years prior to that. And that, unfortunately, is the most worrying
I have to
part.
strongly disagree with that, to be
Okay.
honest.
So the beauty of this is we agree to disagree and nobody cracks down with a witch hunt. But thank you so much, and I'm going to get you again on the show probably soon. On that note, I'm going to shift focus now to Thailand, where Prime Minister Modi is all set to be to attend the 6th BIMSTEC summit, where he is expected to hold talks. These talks will be with his Thai counterpart as well as other global leaders, probably even Nepal Prime Minister. I want to get in my colleague Vishal Vivek, who's been standing by to really give us a sense of what's at stake and what could be some of these key meetings or the highlights of BIMSTEC. Vishal.
So we've just heard that the Nepalese PM, Nepalese foreign minister has spoken and said that they are really hopeful that PM Narendra Modi will meet the delegation of Nepal. And on the Nepal side, you have KP Sharma Oli, the newly crowned Prime Minister, and then he's followed with other delegations such as the foreign minister, and some Syrian advisors are with him. So the Nepalese contingent is clearly saying that they wish to meet the PM, Indian PM. So there have been some tensions between both the sides in the last 1 year. There has been one meeting between both the leaders, and that was in New York last year in September. And so far, there has not been much bilateral cooperation between both the countries in the last 1 year. So all of that could change on this Thailand ground, but all of that remains to be seen. Too soon to comment whether the bilateral meet will actually happen or not. But on the other hand, there are so many other leaders who have already come here, and they have been speaking that BIMSTEC needs to step up. It's not that relevant. They've been really openly saying that, but at the same time, they also want BIMSTEC to be better and to the countries to collaborate in a better manner. They have had meetings before the main summit begins. Today, I was at one of those meetings where some really senior leaders were there, and they spoke that BIMSTEC, the name itself is so complicated that most people won't be able to say the full form of BIMSTEC. So that just highlights one of the problem. So I spoke with one of the leaders of BIMSTEC. Let's listen into what he said. I'm joined by the Secretary General of BIMSTEC here in Bangkok. Let's speak with him and get to know what is BIMSTEC up to these days. Sir, there was a meeting just a few hours ago, and in which a lot of people said that BIMSTEC needs to step up. There is a lot of things that it needs to do, especially in a situation like this when there's a big earthquake. Do you think that's the case? What does BIMSTEC need to do actually to step up?
No, BIMSTEC has been in existence for almost 28 years. So we have in place the mechanisms for regional cooperation. We have our clearly identified agenda. We have our charter in place, the rules of procedure in place, and we have taken a number of significant initiatives. The importance of regional solidarity has been manifest in dealing with the unfortunate earthquake that has struck our region in Myanmar and in Thailand. In case of Myanmar, India, which is an important member of BIMSTEC, has been the first responder. Bangladesh and Thailand, two other members of BIMSTEC, have also provided assistance in dealing with the aftermath of the earthquake. And we already have a proposal from India to set up a BIMSTEC disaster management center. So that shows the importance of regional cooperation. But this regional cooperation is not limited only to disaster management. We have cooperation in security sector, we have cooperation in energy sector.
Now, Pakistan has postponed a deadline for hundreds of thousands of Afghans to return to their country due to Eid celebrations and holidays marking the end of Ramzan. Meanwhile, 50 prominent Afghan women's rights activists sheltering in Pakistan face imminent deportation to Taliban-controlled Afghanistan, where they say they risk imprisonment for death. The Pakistani government has pledged to expel millions of undocumented Afghan nationals amidst worsening relations with Kabul and a spike in cross-border militant attacks. Officials have described Afghan refugees as a threat to national security, labeling them as terrorists and traitors. Bottom line, viewers, is that it's never easy to be a woman, and probably one of the toughest places to be one is Afghanistan. And as these 50-odd activists are being pushed out of Pakistan to Afghanistan, what lies ahead is probably the most dire circumstances. Several of them have actually fled Kabul and sought refuge in Pakistan. Amidst those 8.4 lakh refugees that are being sent back from Pakistan, these 50 women activists will really determine which way Afghanistan will go from here on in terms of providing any security, safety whatsoever for women going forward. On that note, a quick break. I'll come back with more on the other side. Stay with us.
This is an important message for people living with diabetes from people living with diabetes.
When I was experiencing the symptoms of diabetes, I didn't know what was going on.
You go on the internet and it's full of horror stories. You don't know where to begin and you don't know what to believe.
I didn't understand about carbs, I didn't understand about blood glucose levels.
I was scared and I was worried.
I didn't understand diabetes full stop.
That's why the support I get as a Diabetes UK member is so important.
You can become a Diabetes UK member too. To join us now, just call 0800 144 5406 and become a member today for just £3 a month. When you do, you'll receive a practical guide specific to your type of diabetes and a copy of Balance magazine 4 times a year. Balance is filled with news and inspiring real-life stories from members just like you. And you'll receive regular emails and vital updates that will help you feel informed and supported. Plus, you'll help support research that could lead to better treatments for all types of diabetes.
Membership makes life better because you're not alone anymore.
Call 0800 144 5406 or go online to become a Diabetes UK member for just £3 a month, because membership can help you learn to live better with diabetes.
Discover the finest quality made-to-measure blinds, shutters and curtains at Blinds Direct. A huge selection of beautiful window dressings to suit every room. Handmade here in the UK with a 5-year guarantee for your peace of mind. Order your free samples today and choose your perfect design. Exclusively online, delivered direct to your door. Shop now for an extra 20% off and free delivery at blindsdirect.co.uk.
One of the worst earthquakes hit Thailand recently, and the tragedy is still unfolding. You can see some sniffer dogs here. Authorities have told me that they had located some vital signs, but they have not been able to pull anyone out. Question as to how did the 4 Chinese nationals manage to get inside such a highly fortified area. They managed to get in. They were successful in getting some 32 documents that established that Chinese connection to this site. It's also about a larger conspiracy that could be at hand. Whether the Chinese materials were substandard, all of that will have to be investigated.
Okay, let's turn attention to probably one of the most fascinating stories unfolding on the other side of the Atlantic. Elon Musk's big money muscles hasn't helped the Republican or the Conservative Party, and the Democrats have bested them. I'm talking about the Democrat-backed Judge Susan Crawford, who won the race for a seat on the Wisconsin Supreme Court Tuesday. How it unfolded and why it is very significant, this report tells you.
Wisconsins stood up and said loudly that justice does not have a price. Our courts are not for sale.
The Wisconsin Supreme Court race was all about a billionaire's millions and the true battle for justice. Liberal Judge Susan Crawford has won a crucial seat on the state's highest court, defending conservative Brad Schimmel, despite a record-breaking $25 million from Elon Musk, a senior advisor to President Trump. Musk didn't just fund Brad. He personally campaigned in Wisconsin, even donning a cheese head to rally support.
Isn't it shocking how much violence and hatred is coming from the left? I mean, isn't it supposed to be the party that they claim to be the party of empathy, and yet they're burning Teslas and shooting up dealerships and calling for the death of the president and me? I'm like, guys, you know, this is insane. Like, they're gone psycho.
Instead of helping Brad, Musk's involvement fueled Democratic opposition. Voter turnout surged, and Crawford secured victory with a 9-point lead. Never before has a single donor tried to sway a judicial race at this scale. Musk's political machine was in overdrive. An $11.5 million ground game, $7.7 million in TV ads, and even cash incentives for voters. His super PAC paid $100 for signing petitions and $50 for posting pictures outside polling places. For Musk and Trump, it was part of a bigger plan, the plan to reshape Congress. With Republicans holding a narrow majority, the conservative-leaning Wisconsin court could have redrawn congressional maps, flipping key House seats for the GOP. For Democrats, Crawford's win was a breakthrough moment. After months of struggling against Trump's administration, her victory, along with recent wins in Iowa and Pennsylvania, signaled new momentum for the party. With Crawford's 10-year term, liberals maintain a 4-3 majority on the court, set to rule on abortion, labor rights, and redistributing. That balance is secure, at least until 2028. With Rhythm Arcadia, Bureau Report, NDTV World. As I said, the most fascinating story in America, simply because this is the most expensive election that has happened in any of the states in a long time, and which is why we're putting forth these big questions on India Global. First up, did Musk's money muscle fail the Republicans? The next question, is the verdict a referendum on Trump's policies? It's been 2 months, and well, the voters don't seem to be in sync with some of what Trump has been advocating, or is that the case? The next question, does the verdict reflect on Trump's political capital? Wisconsin is a swing state. He won all the 7 swing states last time around, but he hasn't been able to swing this. What does that speak about Trump's political capital? And lastly, did Musk's overt political campaigning really hurt the GOP chances? Was that one of the main reasons? You saw some of his very provocative speeches and his positioning as well. And lastly, will Wisconsin's liberal edge have a larger national impact, whether it's in terms of legislations or whether, as I said, it's a swing state and could have impact on that front? Anand Ahuja is joining me live from New York, and he's the vice president of the Indian Americans for Trump. And I also have Jonah Blank, who's a former advisor to Biden, joining me as well. Okay, in fact, let me start with you, Mr. Ahuja. The fact is that this was a very important election. How do you see its impact panning out for American politics?
Gaurie, there is no doubt it was very important election, but I don't think that Republicans should get heartbreak because if at the same time, if we see yesterday 2 Florida congressional elections in which Republicans, they won the election. So basically, as you very rightly said in your monologue, that pumping of Elon Musk's money in this election, especially a judicial election probably had a negative effect, and rightly or wrongly, voters basically analyze that the power of money cannot influence judicial election.
Is that a
But if you
wake-up call
ask me
then?
overall,
Is that a wake-up
pardon?
call then?
To some extent, yes, I will say yes, it's a wake-up call. But at the same time, if you see as far as the referendum on Donald Trump's policies is concerned, that probably is not going to have an adverse effect because, as I said, that Florida election proves that by and large people in this country, they are happy the way Trump administration is basically handling in domestic policies as well as foreign policy. So I don't think that it's going to have any negative impact as far as Donald Trump's policies
Okay,
are
let's get in
concerned.
Jonah Blank to respond to that, the significance of this election and its larger impact. Jonah.
Yes, well, the people of America are not happy about how Donald Trump is governing, as we've just seen both in Wisconsin and in Florida, where in two very, very safely Republican seats, the Republican majority was slashed. The biggest difference between Trump 1 and Trump 2 is Elon Musk. Trump in this administration has essentially given the entire operation of his administration over to Elon Musk, the wealthiest person on the planet. And people hate that because Elon Musk is destroying Social Security, Veterans Administrations, abolishing whole parts of the U.S. government.
Think Musk is the reason for the loss?
Said no.
You think Musk is the reason for the loss?
In Wisconsin, that certainly appears to be the case. I mean, he plowed more money into this election than any other judicial election in U.S. history. He made it about himself, and that, I think, is what the people were responding to.
Mr. Ahuja, do you think that is going to be an important indicator of how the Trump administration now invokes Musk's political and money power going forward in all elections? And I'm not even talking about the midterms next year.
You are asking me?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, I personally believe that money will always play a big role in political elections. But we have to understand election for the political candidates versus elections for the judicial positions. So if the money is poured like the money was poured by Elon Musk in this judicial election, that probably will have a negative impact. However, the money in the political elections has always played a very big role in this country, and for that matter, if you ask me, in any country. So that will continue. But I personally believe that the way the checks were handed over by Elon Musk to the voters, but $1 million, 3-4 checks were handed over, that probably will have negative impact if this trend continues as far as the judicial elections are concerned.
Okay, but Jonah Blank, let me then, get you the other side to it, which is that if you talk about it's a single election, how much can we extrapolate to really talk about the national mood here?
Well, we shouldn't overread it. It is perfectly normal after a presidential election for the party that has won the election to lose seats in the midterm, in the off-year elections. That happens pretty frequently. So let's not get over our skis on this. But the very real danger is very much there. Let's remember that for all the money Elon Musk has poured into this election, it represents less than 1/100th of 1% of his fortune. He may just decide, I simply haven't tried to bribe the electorate enough. Instead of giving them $100 to sign a petition and offering $1 million to two of them, maybe I'll multiply that by 10, and maybe that'll be enough to buy the people off. And he might be right.
But none of this is illegal, right? I'm asking you from a legal point of view. I'm asking that. It's a question.
It's a very good question because the courts have not really given a clear answer on that. So far, at least, he hasn't been sent to jail, and more to the point, the penalties for it, even if it is illegal, are generally not jail time. They're fines. And fines are irrelevant for him. He could pay any fine that is levied on him. So the law is powerless, really, to rein him back on this.
Okay. As I said, how much can you really extrapolate from a single election in Wisconsin? But Jonathan, then do you think this could act as probably a breath of fresh air or maybe some lease of life into the Democrats' camp, which have pretty much been lifeless since the election verdict came out last year?
You're right. This definitely is the best news the Democrats have had in a while, and it will lift their spirits. Substantively, there's a little bit of real impact because Wisconsin will be redistricting, so this actually will affect that in some degree. But really, it's a morale boost more than anything else, and a harbinger of what might occur in the future.
And finally, then I want to ask you this before I get in Anand as well, which is that what kind of legislations do you expect to be passed by this liberal-leaning court in Wisconsin?
Not very much. The main thing, as I said, was on redistricting. There are a few abortion rulings coming up, and most notably for Elon Musk, there is a Tesla ruling that may come before the court. But substantively, this is less important than as a harbinger and
it's
as
a messaging that is important, Mr. Ahuja, and I think that is really the big point. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks much, both of you, for joining me today on this edition of India Global. It's time to slip into a break with more news on the other side. Stay with us.
With PlusNet, great value broadband isn't just about price, it's also about speed. This kind of speed. Oh, there's a router. Get full fibre from $25.99 a month with speeds up to 900 megabits. Fast broadband you can rely on. That's a plus. Call us now or visit plus.net for our best price. Ends 2nd of April.
No child should suffer the torture of trachoma. But so many are in pain right now. Nananga's lashes have turned inwards. They rip and tear away at his eyes. Pomelo's sight could be gone forever. He's just 3 years old. Kofanga screams for his mother. His eyes are so infected that he can't even see her. For so many children in the world's poorest countries, trachoma is torture. It's a painful infection often spread by flies, and it's destroying children's eyesight. But it could be stopped if you help today. By calling 0800 038 4926 and giving £1 a week to Sightsavers, you can help make sure children get the treatment they desperately need. You'll help us bring them the medicines and the care that can treat infections. And that means you'll be helping to save children from the torture of trachoma and a life of blindness. Please help us reach them. Call 0800 038 4926. Text C13 to 82727 or go online and give just £1 a week now. Because we need you to help save the sight of children like Nananga. We need you to help save them from the torture of trachoma.
Discover the finest quality made-to-measure blinds, shutters and curtains at Blinds Direct. A huge selection of beautiful window dressings to suit every room. Handmade here in the UK with a 5-year guarantee for your peace of mind. Order your free samples today and choose your perfect design. Exclusively online, delivered direct to your door. Shop now for an extra 20% off and free delivery at blindsdirect.co.uk.
With BetterHelp, the biggest benefit of therapy is that it's about finding your authentic self. In a world where everyone is telling us who we should be and what we should want, it's the one place where you get to decide that for yourself. On BetterHelp, my role as a therapist is to meet clients where they are right now. Therapy is for anybody who wants to learn more about themselves or reach a goal or grow in what they already have.
Israel has announced a major expansion of its military ops in Gaza, with possible plans to seize large portions of that region, designate them as security zones. The operation also involves large-scale evacuation of Palestinian residents. That's the Israeli defense minister said the goal is to destroy and clear the area of terrorists and any terrorist infrastructure, saying that it would require large-scale evacuations. Did not disclose the exact amount of land that Israel plans to seize. What's the next phase of this war? How long it could go on, and more importantly, the repercussions of some of these plans that Israel has. Let's get in Dr. John Harrison, who's an expert in the Middle East politics, joining me live from Abu Dhabi to talk more about this. So the fact is, Dr. Harrison, that there is no ceasefire anymore between Israel and Hamas. And there is no update on how that entire issue will be resolved, given the fact that hostages still remain with Hamas. In the backdrop of that, how do you see Israel's next phase of this war?
Well, thank you for having me. Unfortunately, the ceasefire did break down. And I think while certainly both sides are pointing fingers at the other, Hamas bears more of the responsibility for this. These Israeli efforts, to the moment at least, from what they publicly stated, is that they would like to expand the security zone last week or 10 days, that there are more Palestinians who are publicly willing to challenge Hamas and its position as self-declared leaders of the community. So there's a political opportunity here where the Israelis have largely degraded, if not destroyed, the military capacity of Hamas, but the political capacity remains in place. And we've seen the targeting over the last 10 days or so of the political leadership. This is an effort, I think, to draw Hamas out and to make sure that it is not only just militarily incapable of continuing, but also politically incapable, which then opens up space for a potential other leadership to emerge and perhaps expand the possibility of a more lasting ceasefire.
How hopeful are you that some of what Israel's thought process is likely to bear fruit, and some of this war could see a closure anytime soon?
Well, I mean, there are two parties involved in the action, and certainly Hamas has taken a position where it does not seem to want to engage with the peace process. They are accused, at least, of rejecting a continuing ceasefire offer that the United States put forward. The Egyptians and the Qataris are certainly moving to try and reestablish peace, and for all concerned, and particularly for the Palestinians living in Gaza, a ceasefire is the desired outcome. But there are ways of getting that, and certainly Hamas has to be willing to engage with a process that really ends up releasing the hostages that they took back on October 7th.
Right. And finally, the fact is, at the end of the day, Israel's stated goal is also to bring back some of those hostages. The figures may be disputed, but anywhere between 25 to 35 could be the kind of hostages still with Hamas. Are you hopeful that these measures would bring back some of those hostages?
Certainly Hamas had the opportunity to be able to do that, and they chose not to. It is obviously devastating for the hostages and their families, but for Hamas to be holding human shields and to be using not only Israelis but their own population as that, I think sends a message on kind of where they think their power is and what they think should happen. Peace is better for all concerned, particularly for the tens of thousands of Palestinians who are at risk. But it's ultimately Hamas's choice on this, and that they have to start making decisions that are beneficial not just for their organization, but for their population.
Indeed. And finally, sir, very quickly, at the end of the day, you're right about the fact that this breakdown of peace talks took place because of Hamas's refusal to move ahead. How much do you think US is going to back in Israel's next measures to try and identify possible peace areas?
Certainly, the United States, the Trump administration, is far more supportive of an aggressive approach to Hamas than the Biden administration was. So there is some political and military space available to them, but it is not unlimited. And I think both the Israelis and the American administration realize this, that there is some scope, but politically it is not an open-ended commitment that the United States is going to be able to sustain. so that there's going to have to be some movement. And again, while both sides certainly bear some responsibility here, Hamas, at least for this round, has to start making better decisions.
All right, let's leave it there, sir. Thanks much for speaking to me today on a very important story. And let's now turn our attention to Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey, who's actually made history with a record-breaking speech where he really took down the Republicans, spoke against them at great length. And in fact, it was a record-breaking speech, over 25 hours. The marathon speech started at 7 p.m. ET on Monday, with Booker promising to keep going as long as he could physically do so. Now, what's the messaging that he's sending here? Could this really help in revival of the Democrat Party? And with limited power, the party's actually struggled to mount any sort of unified resistance, so to say, to the Republicans. Before I get any further, let's quickly play out this soundbite from Chuck Schumer.
I just want to tell you a question. Do you know you have just broken the record? Do you know how proud this caucus is of you? Do you know how proud America is of you?
Okay, turning attention now to Russia, where a key Kremlin negotiator is expected in Washington this week for talks with President Trump's administration, marking the most senior Russian official to actually travel to the U.S. since 2022, when the Russian war started with the Ukraine. A report suggests that chief of Russia's Sovereign Wealth Fund, who was appointed by President Putin as Special Investment and International Economic Envoy, will meet with U.S. Special Envoy. The significance of this, does this mean that there's a reset in the U.S.-Russia relationship? Let's get in Tatiana, who's joining us live. She's a senior journalist. Tatiana, talk to us about the significance of this meeting, and what do you think could be the expected or Russia's expected outcomes from this?
Well, let's, Gaurie, first and foremost state that this is a reported meeting that has not yet been confirmed by the Russian side. The Kremlin spokesman has said that the meeting is possible. However, we don't know any official details. Everything we know from American media, and you know how often these reports have to be first verified, then, you know, taken on. But I do believe that, you know, in terms of what has been happening with the Russian and the American side meeting and discussing many issues, this visit, should it actually happen, would
How
be
much of a reset do you think it will be for U.S.-Russia relationship?
I don't think that we can talk about a reset as of right now. You know, we're still discussing many points of you know, possible cooperation. But of course, any sort of investment, direct investment, mutual investment even, would be an extremely important part of the ongoing communication between Moscow and Washington. Because you know, if you look at how Donald Trump does business, then you understand that he is about big money, and any sort of direct investment would be a sort of a security guarantee in terms of even potentially future negotiations on Ukraine.
Indeed, I was coming to just that while there's going to be revival of the economic relationship, Trump has also threatened tariffs, fresh tariffs on Russia, if President Putin doesn't agree on the Ukraine Peace Pact. How do you think that is going to impact the talks?
I don't think this is going to impact talks at all at this point. You know, first of all, Donald Trump is yet to meet Vladimir Putin in person. Second of all, as I've said many times, you know, we need to understand that when an American president speaks, and certainly when the US president speaks, he's first and foremost speaking to the American population, not to, you know, directly to Vladimir Putin. So he's trying to portray a strong to give out a strong vibe to his electorate and to his public, American public. When it comes to the ongoing negotiations, I do believe that the Russian position, which was made clear back in 2022 and hasn't really changed since, is not going to shift because Donald Trump said something.
Given the fact that the Russian economy has really been impacted and battered by the sanctions and the war for the last 3 years, how much...
And you're basing this question on which numbers exactly?
No, I'm just asking you that how much do you think American investments will help the Russian economy, and how important do you think that will be in this proposed meeting?
Well, Gaurie, this question, which I find extremely biased to begin with, has nothing to do with the reality. If you're calling Russian economy battered, when in fact it hasn't been, then I would like to see specific numbers or hear them, backing such claims.
So you have no expectations out of this meeting? And what do you think would like in terms of economic expectations?
I don't believe that Russian economy needs any sort of a lifeline, which is what you're suggesting, because Russian economy has been doing very well, despite the unprecedented sanctions.
Okay. Okay, I'm afraid I'll have to leave it there because we agree to disagree. I feel that the Russian economy does need an economic lifeline, and at this stage, the meeting could provide it one. But as I said, let's leave it there where we disagree. On that note, a completely timed out on this edition of India Global. Thanks so much for watching.
Few of us ever look after our ears as much as we should. But when my hearing changed, I didn't want to lose what matters to me. Hidden Hearing understood. It wasn't just about hearing better. It's about living the life I love. Book your free hearing test at one of our 300 clinics nationwide and experience how our personalized care can help you keep being you. Hidden Hearing. Your hearing is our expertise.
The Sharps half-price spring sale is now on. Get Sharps bespoke fitted furniture for every room, from bedrooms to home offices and living spaces. Many ranges are now half price, including our best-selling shaker range. Our exclusive Space Plus system means twice the storage space of freestanding wardrobes. Plus, you get our industry-beating 15-year guarantee. Don't miss the Sharps half-price spring sale. Book your free home design visit today at sharps.co.uk.
Get that lucky cow feeling with luckycowbingo.com/bingo, the site that's bursting with beautiful bingo games. That's luckycowbingo.com/bingo.
Last year, over 87% of our players won a prize with People's Postcode Lottery.
No! Yes!
And with a share of £15.6 million to be won in the May draws, you could be next.
I've just won the Postcode Lottery.
Oh,
Twice.
For the chance to win, sign up before midnight on the 30th of April.
Oh my God!
With a share of £15.6 million to be won, the next lucky winner could be you.
Whoa!
Is your door in the draw?
It feels good knowing that your future's in hand. Evlo can offer you a loan from £1,000 to £15,000. Get your conditional decision in minutes.
Discover the finest quality made-to-measure window dressings, exclusively online, delivered direct to your door. Shop now for an extra 20% off and free delivery at blindsdirect.co.uk.
Nothing beats a celebration. And at Tesco Mobile, we're ringing in 30 years of Club Card with deals like the awesome new Samsung Galaxy A56 with 12 gigs of data for just £27.99 a month with Club Card prices, saving you £144. Better yet, that price is frozen for the duration of your contract. And you can even bag a £30 Tesco gift card too. It pays to be connected. Search Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Whatever you need to ask about cancer, Macmillan's free support line is just a call away.
Hello, Macmillan.
Whether it's money...
Am I going to lose my job?
Getting on with life.
Can I still go abroad? Get insurance?
Or just need someone to listen.
How do I tell them?
Our specialist advisors are here to help as often as you need them. Whatever you need to ask, cancer, money, life, call us now on 0808 134 1000.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Welcome to the Southern View. I'm Peter Raghav. Lots lined up on the show this evening, including our focus on the ED pressure against Siddaramaiah on that Muda case that refuses to end, and the controversy around the Malayalam box office blazer Emburan. But first, let's take you through the headlines we're tracking this hour. Fiery exchange over the Waqf bill in Parliament. Home Minister Amit Shah, who just finished speaking, hits out at the opposition, defends the bill as one that's progressive and bringing in reforms. The opposition remains firm, claims the amendments are an assault on the Constitution. The High Court steps into the Hyderabad land row, tells the government to pause all work on that controversial 400-acre parcel of land where protests erupted after a proposal to auction it for an IT park. The BJP decides to sleep in at Freedom Park in Bengaluru to protest against price hikes in the state. This on a day when diesel prices are dearer by 2 rupees. The government of Karnataka says prices in the state are still lower than most BJP-ruled states. Well, first up to that big political story in Karnataka this evening, the Muda trouble for Chief Minister Siddaramaiah clearly not over as yet. The Enforcement Directorate today challenged the clean chit in the case given by the Karnataka Lokayukta to the Chief Minister and his family in the land allotment controversy. The Enforcement Directorate, which was parallelly investigating the case, claimed before the Court for People's Representatives that it had found several irregularities in the case and that the Lokayukta report was misleading. In another case, the Karnataka High Court also allowed the ED to continue with its investigations in the Muda case. The Lokayukta had sought to close the FIR against the Chief Minister as it found no criminal case in the Muda land allotment controversy in which the Chief Minister's wife and family are allegedly benefited from a flawed compensation land allotment scheme by the Mysuru Urban Development Authority. So what does this mean for Siddaramaiah and the Congress government in Karnataka? Well, joining me this evening, Sadashiv Shivanna of the Congress, Anand Gurumurthy of the BJP, and also senior journalist B.S. Arun. But first, let me go across to my colleague Deepak Bupanna, who begins his stint with NDTV today. Deepak joins me live. Deepak, welcome to the Southern View. Clearly, the Muda battle not over for Siddaramaiah. Explain to us the developments in the court and what that means both legally and politically for Siddaramaiah.
Well, it definitely seems like now there is room for trouble for Mr. Siddaramaiah, the Karnataka Chief Minister, because up until now, it seemed like, the trouble was going away. Because on one hand, the Lokayukta filed a report, and the report was a B report, which meant that they didn't find any sort of evidence against Mr. Siddaramaiah. But in the past, we've seen the Enforcement Directorate, which came out with a detailed press release, which claimed that, he misused his position as the Chief Minister. And this was shared with the Lokayukta as well. But that didn't find a mention in the Lokayukta report. Now the Enforcement Directorate has done two things, or rather has benefited from two things. One is a petition that's being filed seeking that the court should rather, dismiss this particular B report or not consider it. Now, what happens in that regard, that remains to be seen. But what is actual trouble now coming the way of the Karnataka Chief Minister is the fact that DB Natesh, who's a former Muda commissioner, he was there was a little bit of documentation and a little bit of evidence that was collected from his residence. Now, based on this, the Lokayukta has now been allowed by the division bench of the Karnataka High Court to question anybody linked to this particular case. When I say anybody, we should note that Siddaramaiah is also an individual who's connected to this particular case. So is his wife, and so are several other,
Right.
political personalities as well. So how will this really fare for the Karnataka Chief Minister? Will this mean trouble? And will this mean that the BJP is going to continue to mount pressure politically on him? All of this remains to be seen.
That's right. Those are the questions exactly, Deepak, that I'm going to pose to our panel this evening, starting with Sadashiv Shivanna of the Congress. The trouble as far as the Muda case, Sadashiv, doesn't seem to be over for Chief Minister Siddaramaiah. How do you see the fact that the ED is putting pressure on this case now, challenging that Lokayukta clean sheet play out for the Chief Minister and for the government and for the Congress in the state?
The protest petition filed by the Enforcement Directorate is nothing but a publicity stunt. You know, the Enforcement Directorate is over enthusiasm in this matter is reflective of the fact that independent investigative agencies are being systematically weaponized to undermine and destabilize democratically elected governments at the behest of the central government. Rather than upholding the rule of law, these agencies are functioning as political tools. They're functioning as political puppets, targeting opposition leaders to stifle dissent. What is the job of the Enforcement Directorate? It is to catch criminals. It is to prevent money laundering, that is the washing of corrupt money, not to operate as political laundering machines, not to operate as political washing machines at the behest of the Bharatiya Janata Party. In this particular case, the Lokayukta, which is considered to be an independent investigative agency, has filed a report. The protest petition has been filed by the complainant, who is Snehamayi Krishna. Arguments were advanced by both parties, and the special court was scheduled to pass orders on the protest petition tomorrow. Now, at 2 days prior, the ED comes up and says, we are an aggrieved party, please listen to us. What is their motivation? The timing of the protest petition is questionable. And what is the locus standi?
Anand.
They have no locus standi at all. By no of imagination.
Sadashiv Shivanna raising some strong questions. What is the locus standi? Purely political. Given the atmosphere in other states and the accusations made by the opposition, it may only lead further to the portrayal that the ED is used by the BJP and the centre to target a Congress chief minister. Your response?
Let me point out one thing in the Lokayukta report. Any citizen, if he gets a compensation, the ratio is about 60-40 ratio. But here, it has been pointed out in the Lokayukta report that Mr. Siddaramaiah was approved. I mean, Mr. Siddaramaiah's wife was approved 50-50%. Why this favoritism came in? So this point itself reflects that the officer who did it was doing under the behest of some pressure or some favoritism that he got. So because of this, this case opens up in many ways. Okay, I just pointed out one thing because there is time constraint and people of Karnataka have already seen 3 to 4 days arguments of different lawyers like Mr. Shivanna in the court. Okay, I mean, some of his colleagues have argued for Siddaramaiah ji and some of them have argued against. And everybody has seen those things. There are so many loopholes in this. And the B report talks of, giving a clean sheet to a political leader at that position. Imagine the kind of corruption that has happened under this CM in his previous term also. So this is the kind of thing that Bharatiya Janata Party is trying to point out. One. Number two, ED and any other agency, central agencies, which is being called, as puppets of BJP and other things by Congress. Please understand that that's not the case. Since 2014, after Narendra Modi's prime ministership started, it is very clear that all the leaders, whether it's Congress party or BJP or anybody, okay, who is caught into money laundering, they are being investigated and they are being pulled to the court and they are answerable to the public. So this is happening. All these agencies are now independent agencies. So Congress should stop speaking like this.
I see the Congress spokesperson raising his hand violently, vehemently trying to protest what you're saying. But before I get to him, let me go to the senior journalist on the panel, B.S. Arun. Arun, the fact that ED pressure continues on the one hand means legal trouble. But in terms of the popular perception and in terms of the politics of the state, how do you see this impact, A, for Siddaramaiah? B, does this mean that the worry as far as the Muda case remains a real and present danger for Siddaramaiah?
I think so. Today's development would put Siddaramaiah in a tight corner. It is certainly a setback because just about recently, last month, Supreme Court, the court had not given approval for issuing summons, but now it has paved the way for the ED to question Siddaramaiah and others. So to that extent, I think it's certainly a setback to the chief minister and coming in at such a time when the Lokayukta has already given him a clean sheet. But then, the politics of it, I think, will continue for long. The BJP will certainly take it up, may take it up in a big way because that party also is facing internal troubles. The internal troubles of Siddaramaiah himself, the campaign mounted by D.K. Shivakumar, the Deputy Chief Minister, against him, and many of the ministers coming into the open in the internal squabbles of the party. All these, I think, put Siddaramaiah in a sort of a corner. And this today's development by the ED, a central agency to boot, I think will certainly go against him. I think he won't be sleeping very happily from today onwards, because we have seen what has happened in the case of other opposition leaders. Say, for example, the former Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal and others, and what happened to his party later. So, because of this, the past incidents and what happened to those cases, I think Siddaramaiah would not be very happy going through today's development, and what he would do in the days to come, what the ED will do in the days to come, I think would be interesting, and may in fact put Karnataka politics itself in a different way. One more thing, Veera, today's ED petition also talks about integrity and the other issue, sovereignty. So I haven't come across ED using these words in other cases. What does this mean? Whether the ED is looking into it in a very different way altogether, I wonder. So I think that if those words that the ED has used in a very different context, I think that also we need to wait and see what's going to happen as far as that. Those
important points that you're saying there. It's not just interesting, it's also important, as you mentioned, politically in terms of the power equations. But Sadashiv Shivanna, the question very simply raised by the BJP spokesman is that they're not convinced about the Lokayukta report. And just as you doubt the ED, they doubt the Lokayukta's clean sheet. A, that's one point. B, does this really create a sense of worry for the Congress, given that a chief minister is going to be aggressively probed by the ED in this controversy?
No, not at all. Firstly, I would like to reiterate my point, saying what is the locus standi of the ED in this particular matter? According to me, they cannot be treated as an aggrieved party under the provisions of the PMLA at all. Now, it is a legal question and we must leave it to the courts to decide whether they are an aggrieved party or not, whether they can file such kind of things. Now, speaking of courts, the Honorable High Court of Karnataka has quashed the ECIR and FIR and the summons insofar as Natesh is concerned, insofar as Srimati Parvati is concerned, who is the Chief Minister's wife, insofar as the Urban Development Minister is concerned. Now, what is the ED actually investigating? When the 14 sites, the alleged proceeds of crime, the 14 sites have been returned to the state government even before ED came into the picture. So what are you doing? It's nothing but a publicity stunt. And let me take this point on ED. I have to expose them. 132 money laundering cases against politicians and only one conviction. That is their conviction rate. Okay, 1,700 raids and only 9 convictions. 121 political leaders that the ED investigated against, 115 are from the opposition parties. Out of 25 opposition leaders facing corruption, half of them have joined BJP. Now, what is the status of the investigation initiated by the Enforcement Directorate insofar as Himant Biswa Sarma is concerned, insofar as Mukul Roy is concerned, Ajit Pawar, Y.S. Chaudhary, Harshvardhan Patil, Chandrababu Naidu. So you join hands with the BJP, you align forces with the BJP, the ED drops cases. This kind of conviction rate.
Anand Sadashiv making point with statistics and facts.
How can we trust their integrity?
I will just
How
tell
can
you,
we
Mr.
trust their
Sadashiv
integrity
also,
is the question he's raised. Response.
Yes, definitely I'll answer that. Mr. Sadashiv clearly understands that, he's asking a question and he knows the answer also. He's a well-educated person. See, all these cases are still running. They are not closed. Okay? It is an independent agency. Wait a second. And then, one more thing, Mr. Sadashiv. You seem to be a knowledgeable person. Tell me, if a person, steals a gold chain and then returns it back, is it not a crime? Are you telling me on national TV that somebody took something, snatched 15 sites from people who would need those sites to build their houses for profit as a powerful politician, and they give back. And you are trying to justify this on national TV, being a Congress spokesperson? Answer me, Mr. Sadashiv, how justified is your talk here?
Well, now I will have to give you a lesson on law. Now I'll have to give you a lesson on law. The enforcement directorate can come into the picture only when there is a predicate
lecture of law that's going
And
to
when
happen in the courts. I will leave this conversation for the moment. Thanks to all three of you for joining me here on the Southern View this evening. Now to the controversy over Malayalam blockbuster Empuran. While the makers of the film made voluntary cuts and changes after sharp reactions from some fringe right-wing groups over the depiction of investigations and communal incidents in India, the producer clarified that it wasn't political pressure, but sensitivity to sentiments that got them to make those changes. Has any of it affected the film's box office run? Here's a report.
Did not succumb to political pressure. Controversial Empuran's producer Anthony Perumbavoor sets the record straight.
നമ്മൾ കുറച്ച് ദിവസമായിട്ട് കേൾക്കുന്ന ഒരു സമ്മർദ്ദം ഉണ്ടായിട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നതാണ്. സമ്മർദ്ദത്തിന്റെ പുറത്തല്ല, ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇത് മറ്റാരെയും ദ്രോഹിക്കാനോ വേറെ ഒരു വ്യക്തികളെ, ഞാൻ വീണ്ടും വ്യക്തികളെ കുറിച്ച് അല്ല, അതൊരു സിനിമ അല്ല, അതിപ്പോ അല്ല അങ്ങനെയല്ല. അതിപ്പോ നമ്മൾ നാളെ ഒരു സിനിമ എടുക്കുന്ന സമയത്ത് വേറൊരു പാർട്ടിക്ക് വിഷമം ഉണ്ടായെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാലും സ്വാഭാവികമായിട്ടും.
He also dismissed director Major Ravi's assertion that superstar Mohanlal was unaware of Empuran's story.
जब भगवान का बेटा ही गलत करे, तो शैतान को तो सही करने आना ही पड़ता है.
The re-edited version of Empuran hit theatres last night, featuring significant changes. 24 cuts, totaling over 2 minutes and 8 seconds of footage. One of the major amendments in the re-edited version has been changing the antagonist's name to Balraj from Bajrangi. Scenes involving the NIA have been muted, while visuals of women being harassed and dead bodies have been removed. The cuts have also affected the special thanks during the film credits, with the names of actor and Union Minister of State for Petroleum Suresh Gopi and IRS officer Jyotis Mohan being removed. Yet, controversy hasn't slowed Empuran down. The film is inching towards the 80 crore mark at the Indian box office, with worldwide earnings surpassing 200 crore rupees. Only the second film after Manjumel Boys to achieve this feat. Will these cuts calm the storm, or has the controversy fueled Empuran's unstoppable success? With Abhiradhar Rao and Malavika Murali, Bureau Report.
Movie obviously resulting in that controversy. Remember, 24 cuts that were made on that movie voluntarily after some fringe right-wing groups protested against the depiction of some communal incidents in India, and also the NIA. Obviously, the producer there categorically declaring that they haven't buckled to any pressure, but are films increasingly becoming a soft target to online campaigns from those who objected? Well, those are the key questions that we'll try and raise to a panel which we're waiting to line up this evening. We will wait for our guests to join, but Empuran controversy is something that's been fiercely debated in Kerala. Remember, the box office earnings for the film extraordinary as well, despite all that controversy, or as some would argue, controversy perhaps only helping the movie do well as far as box office reactions are concerned. 180 crore budget for the film. It had to rake in money as far as the box office is concerned, because remember, Kerala cinema doesn't have many big budget films. One of our first panelists this evening on the Empuran controversy, Sanjana Galrani, actor, has joined in live. Sanjana, the producers say they haven't buckled to any kind of political pressure or online campaigns, and it's just purely their sensitivity to the sentiments that's made them make those cuts. Are films really becoming soft targets in terms of such online campaigns from fringe groups which disagree with certain depictions or certain narratives?
See, it's very challenging to be
taking them head on, these fringe groups whom you so call. And knowing Mohanlal, we have known him to be a peace lover, and he doesn't want any people who hate him and all guns on him sort of a person. He's always been a peace lover, dignified, diplomatic to himself. And in a situation like this, if you are openly talking about the kind of threats that you have, that will also further flare up the situation and make their challenges only bigger and worse. So it's better sometimes to just keep quiet and just wash away your hands. But in this entire circle that which has happened to with Empuran, let me tell you one thing: the producer makes the cuts or does not make the cut. The amount of free publicity the film is getting, the very fact that you and I are sitting here on national television and talking about it, it's a pure win for the film. The same thing happened with Pushpa, and nothing is going to happen about that Allu Arjun's case. But the kind of money and the kind of box office records that Pushpa broke, and then the amount of free publicity they got to even get telecasted on national news channel and talk about this particular film is lakhs and lakhs together. If they're coming for a film promotion, they have to pay up a lot of money, but they're getting that kind of a publicity for free. So this way or that way, Empuran's entire team has won the battle with the making the cuts or not making the cuts. It doesn't matter. The money is what matters in the box office for a producer, and that is really triggered to some other level.
At the box office, you say, Sanjana, the money is what matters at the box office, you say, but there is also the question of creative freedom in terms of expression. That is an important point to be debated. K.A. Shaji
money
and Rahul Ishwar, author and activist, join us.
In cinema, money is everything. Let me tell you, in cinema,
well, yes,
money
I agree.
is everything.
I agree. For those in the industry, money is everything. Rahul Ishwar.
At the end of the day, it's
largely,
not that the film has got banned or anything. And it's got so much
absolutely.
free
Rahul Ishwar, in a sense,
that
are films a soft target for right-wing, or any kind of fringe groups to make their objection? I've asked this question before on the show to you as well. Empuran unfairly targeted, or the voluntary cuts were actually something that was relevant and makes the film more acceptable?
Raghavji, I am a Hindu right-wing activist, and I really like the movie. But there was a feedback mechanism from the society at large to the movie. You cannot show every right-wing group as bad. You cannot show everyone who is associated with any kind of a Hindutva group as bad. See, that is taking it too far. For example, I really like the movie. I love the movie, but at the same point of time, there are references which shows that the Hindutva leader plans to bomb a dam and kill all the people in 2 districts. This is taking it too far. You cannot overstretch things. And people like Mohanlal belongs to all. See, we all know the interesting thing is Prithviraj's mother is a BJP person campaign for Modi ji, but Prithviraj is anti-Hindutva. Murli Gobi's father, Bharat Gobi, was a BJP member, but Murli Gobi is anti-Hindutva. There is nothing wrong in taking any line, but you shouldn't overstretch things. Is a humble feedback that the society at large gave, and Mohanlal accepted it, with a large heart. Nobody threatened, nobody cajoled, nobody had any kind of a pressure thing. There was a large sentiments against the movie, overstating many things, and Mohanlal and the producer received it well, and they have cut certain parts that will offend the sentiments. What is wrong in it? Is it not a part of creativity, and is it not part of our social feedback that creativity restrains itself? And please remember, there is no absolute liberty. It is liberty comes with responsibility. There is no absolute creativity. Creativity comes with sensitivity. So liberty and sensitivity, creativity and responsibility should go hand in hand.
No, I agree with you. Creativity and responsibility needs to go hand in hand, but it's the question of what the objections are. And some would argue that there is also that creative freedom in terms of depicting something. If X was depicted in a different way, there would be those who would, there would be those who would praise that kind of a depiction.
Can I just raise a one-line question?
Yes.
Narendra Modi ji, our PM, was given a clean sheet by the courts. They could have easily portrayed that the riots happened, unfortunate riot happens without the knowledge and consent of Modi ji. See, you cannot show an entire political spectrum as bad. And Mohanlal acknowledged this. Mohanlal in the Facebook post, subsequent post said, it is my responsibility to see to it that no hatred towards any community or political party should be radiated from my movie. So you cannot show everyone, whether it be Congress, BJP, AAP, or any party, entire one spectrum as bad. So Mohanlal pivoted, and many things
no point taken.
Out, so
I think Rahul, more than me taking the point, the producers and the filmmakers have taken the point Yes, Sanjana, go ahead. I give you the last word. We seem to be out of time. We just have 30 seconds.
This country is very biased. I'm telling you right now, Indira Gandhi, the emergency released, and it just got banned in one state. Whereas this film has been forced to make so many cuts just because we have the Hindutva party ruling in the central. And that's why they've used all the pressures and they have destroyed the creativity. But nevertheless, this way or that way, the film makes the money and the film is still a winner, is what I would like to say very gracefully and
Sanjana,
retire
we
from
should be
this.
fair, right? No, I have a huge admiration for you, but we should be fair in representation. You cannot demonize an entire spectrum. So that's a fair ask.
All right, done. We'll leave it there, Rahul. We'll leave it there. Sanjana's point is, all this has only made the film a bigger success, and that's all that the filmmaker wants ultimately. It's become a hit. It's become a bigger hit than what it was.
And it's so tough to make money in the box office. It's so
all right,
tough to get the numbers right.
We'll leave that conversation on Empuran right now. Perhaps those who haven't seen it will now go and see it with the cuts, and we'll see what feedback we get on that. But that's all we have time for on the Southern View this evening. News and updates continue right here on NDTV.
It feels good knowing that your future's in hand. Evlo can offer you a loan from £1,000 to £15,000, whether it's for home improvements, new appliances, a car, or for some of life's big moments. So even if you've had problems with credit before, Evlo looks beyond your credit score and always takes a case-by-case approach. Visit evlo.co.uk to get your conditional decision in minutes. Evlo, your future in your hands.
Now I'm retired, I can spend more time with my grandson. I'm proud of him and want to help any way I can. Which reminds me.
Welcome to British Seniors, the UK's #1 rated provider of over 50s life insurance.
Hi, I'd like a quick quote.
No problem. We're proud to offer our seniors lifetime guarantee. With 100% of claims having been paid, we guarantee your premiums will never go up and that you'll speak to one of our specialists in the UK.
Well, that's good to know.
UK residents aged 50 to 80 are guaranteed to be accepted. Depending on your age, your loved ones can get a cash payout up to £10,000.
And that money can help with my funeral costs or even be used as a gift. I'll do it.
Plus, when you sign up, you'll receive a £135 gift card and free 24/7 GP advice and health services.
Thanks, Mum, for everything.
Be proud to protect your loved ones with British Seniors. To get a free quote today, call our UK team on 0800 158 552 or visit britishseniors.co.uk.
You know, the toughest part of the whole grief, I'll never forget, is when Nan turned to me one time. And she goes, "John, I don't know what's happening to me."
Those weeks that he came in, with the 3 weeks that I could be his little girl again, nothing I can do will repay Marie Curie for doing that for. The amazing gift that they gave me was I was there at his last breath. He was there for my first.
In the calls, they just listened. She just said, "John, just speak."
Although people don't like to talk about it, but we're getting older, it has to be done.
You start to think about, well, what would I do? Where would I want to leave things?
I will give everything back that I can to the hospice that gave me so much, not only in my name, but in Dad's name.
Who do I give my assets to?
Didn't realise you had a choice.
Give better end-of-life care to all. Get your free will guide today.
Our first year as a family flew by. And now, I want to make sure he'll be financially protected for all his birthdays to come. That's why I'm calling Smart Insurance.
Hi, how can I help?
Hi, I'd like a quick quote for family life insurance.
OK, you can choose a benefit amount up to £750,000 depending on your age.
That's great.
If you're a UK resident aged 18 to 64, you can apply with just a few health and lifestyle questions. For £250,000 of cover, the price starts at just £14.77 a month.
That's less than I thought. And could help my wife pay off the mortgage.
And with our Smart Family Guarantee, you'll have peace of mind.
That's good to know.
You'll also receive a 100% advance in the event of terminal illness and 10% cashback on your first year's premiums. That's the Smart Cashback. Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Protect the life you've built the smart way. To get a free quote today, call our specialist UK team on 0808 141 5855 or visit smartinsurance.co.uk.
Nothing beats a celebration. And at Tesco Mobile, we're ringing in 30 years of Club Card with deals like the Samsung Galaxy S25 Plus, with 25 gigs of data for just $43.99 a month with Club Card prices, saving you £270. Better yet, that price is frozen for the duration of your contract. And you can even bag a £30 Tesco gift card too. It pays to be connected. Search Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me,
Hello ladies and gentlemen, you're watching NDTV. A tense face-off between the Treasury benches and the opposition is underway in the Parliament as the Lok Sabha has taken up the Waqf Amendment Bill for discussion and passage today. In fact, Home Minister Amit Shah has just clarified that non-Muslims on the Waqf board will not interfere in religious matters under the new law. He in fact has claimed that the Congress party donated 123 VIP properties in New Delhi to the Waqf board just ahead of the 2014 elections, just because it wanted to secure its Muslim vote bank. He also said that the Congress donated railway land to the Waqf by making amendments to the Waqf Act of 2013. Let's listen in to what he said.
पारदर्शिता आएगी, इससे क्यों डरना चाहिए किसी को? पारदर्शिता से क्यों? और वक्फ बोर्ड और वक्फ परिषद, इसका कोई ऑर्डर हम ऐसा नहीं लिख रहे हैं कि कोर्ट में नहीं जा सकते। आपने तो कर दिया था कि ये ऑर्डर को कोई कोर्ट में चैलेंज ही नहीं कर सकता। पूरा संविधान वहां समाप्त कर दिया मान्यवर। और मान्यवर, हम तो इसको कहते हैं कि कोई भी चैलेंज कर सकता है कायदे की अदालत में। इस देश में संविधान का राज है। ग्रीवेंसेस जिसका भी हो कोर्ट में जा सकता है। 2013 में जिसकी भूमि हड़पी, इसके ग्रीवेंसेस को भी कोर्ट के फोरम से बाहर करने का पाप एक कांग्रेस पार्टी ने किया।
So that is the Home Minister there making an important intervention. But let's also talk about the discussion that happened today. Now, the opposition showed a united face in the Lok Sabha in talking about its resistance to the bill. The Congress centered its argument around the Indian Constitution, alleging that this is an attempt by the ruling party to polarize Indians, Hindus against Muslims. Now, what did the BJP do to reform the lives of Muslims in the last 10 years? That's what the Congress MPs asked today. Samajwadi Party's Akhilesh Yadav, in fact, brought in the Kumbh Mela, the alleged mismanagement, and also his PDA approach to elections, till he was reminded by the Speaker to focus on the topic of the day, Waqf. It's also important to understand that the mindset of the BJP has a certain inclination, which is why it wants to bring in this bill. That's what Akhilesh Yadav responded. Now, BJP speakers, in fact, in turn, reminded the Congress party how tragically the party went against the frugal demand of Shah Bano in 1985 to appease the Muslim clergy. In fact, the BJP also said that Waqf bill is not about any religion, but a property reform, a move to make Waqf properties better managed, even commercially sustainable, so that poor Muslims can benefit from those properties. Let's listen in to the highlights of the discussion that happened today.
इस बिल के द्वारा 4 इनके मूल उद्देश्य। पहला मूल उद्देश्य है कि संविधान को कमजोर करना, टू डाइल्यूट द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन। इनका दूसरा उद्देश्य है भ्रम फैलाना, टू डिफेम द माइनॉरिटी कम्युनिटीज ऑफ इंडिया। इनका तीसरा उद्देश्य है टू डिवाइड द इंडियन सोसाइटी। हमेशा हमारे बीच में एक लिटिगेशन चलता रहे, मसला और बढ़ता जाए, ये उनका उद्देश्य है। और चौथा इनका उद्देश्य डाइल्यूट, डिफेम, डिवाइड, और चौथा इनका उद्देश्य है टू डिसएनफ्रेंचाइज द माइनॉरिटी कम्युनिटीज।
सबसे बड़ी बात यह कि वक्फ बिल के पीछे की न तो नीति सही है, न नियत। ये देश के करोड़ों लोगों से उनके घर दुकान छीनने की भी साजिश है। वक्फ बिल का लाना भाजपा की सियासी हट है। वक्फ बिल भाजपा की सांप्रदायिक राजनीति का नया रूप है। वो तो आपको काटेगा, और इसलिए काटेगा कि अध्यक्ष महोदय बाहर ये लिखते हैं सत्यमेव जयते, बाहर है लिखते सत्यमेव जयते, भाजपाई अंदर असत्य बात कहते। भाजपा वक्फ बिल लाकर अपने उन समर्थकों का तुष्टीकरण करना चाहती है जो भाजपा की आर्थिक नीति, महंगाई, बेरोजगारी, बेकारी और चौपट अर्थव्यवस्था से उसे छटक गए हैं।
आप सोचिए, केरला का एमपी, तमिलनाडु का एमपी लोग तो सोचिए, अगर आपने गलती से इस बिल का विरोध कर दिया तो आप क्या विरोध झेलना पड़ेगा बाहर में। आप कल्पना कीजिएगा अभी से। केरला का मुनम्बम का जो इशू है वो तो अभी सब जान ही रहा है कि 600 क्रिश्चियन फैमिलीज का जो जमीन को वक्फ बोर्ड ने वक्फ डिक्लेयर कर दिया है। अगर हम ये बिल पारित कर दिया उसका अपना जमीन वापस मिल जाएंगे। अभी भी आप जिद पे राजनीतिकरण करके आप अड़े रहे, आप मुश्किल में फंसने वाले हैं। विशेष करके हमारे कांग्रेस वालों को मैं कहना चाहता हूं, और बाकी हमारे साथी दल है, कांग्रेस के झांसे में ना आए, आपको भी डुबा देंगे ये लोग।
So those were the highlights from today's discussion, but there was also something exemplary about the discussion that Lok Sabha witnessed today. It showed preparation and the intent of our elected representatives to engage in a dialogue. There was no walking out, there was disagreement, but there was also deliberation, which is central to a democracy. In fact, one of the highlights was also this banter between Home Minister Amit Shah and Samajwadi Party Chief Akhilesh Yadav when Akhilesh Yadav questioned the delay in the announcement of BJP national president, and Amit Shah laughingly said that the BJP is different from family-run establishments. Let's take a look at this exchange.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी के अंदर मुकाबला चल रहा है कि खराब हिंदू कौन बड़ा है, और ये बात अध्यक्ष महोदय मैं ऐसे ही नहीं कह रहा हूं। जो पार्टी ये कहती हो कि दुनिया की सबसे बड़ी पार्टी है, अध्यक्ष महोदय वो अपना राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष नहीं चुन पाए अभी तक। अध्यक्ष महोदय भारतीय जनता पार्टी क्या है?
जी, मैं अखिलेश जी ने बहुत हंसते हंसते कहा है, इसको हंसते हंसते जवाब देना। इस सामने जितनी पार्टियां हैं उनका राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष उन 5 लोगों को ही चुनना है परिवार के। हमें माननीय अध्यक्ष जी करोड़ों सदस्यों में से 12-13 करोड़ सदस्य प्रक्रिया कर कर चुनना है तो देर लगती है, आपके यहाँ जरा भी देर नहीं लगेगी। मैं कह देता हूं अभी 25 साल तक आप अध्यक्ष हो जाओ, नहीं बदल सकता।
अध्यक्ष महोदय क्योंकि